Hello, everybody. It is Friday, the 6th of May. Uh, I want to one more time talk about our spiritual connections because it is really the underlying reality of ourselves that we need to see. You know, we have been driven into there's an underlying reality. You know, there's like aliens that have built a matrix and we're now all trapped in that matrix and it's somehow generated by machines, you know. And I don't know, one day we will stand and talk to the machines, Keanu Reeves style, I don't know, something like that. And then you're really not seeing it. But you're being driven into possibilities, into possible interpretations of those words. You know, matrix, underlying reality, spiritual beings. You're being driven into a possible interpretation, and then you're running with that interpretation. And you really get tunnel vision on one way or another of what this might mean. And then you're no longer seeing. You're honest to God being driven into darkness. So, first of all, I said in my video before that I said we are not infinite awareness that is having a physical experience. We are spiritual beings that are somehow being trapped into a physical experience by being given the wrong perception of what is actually going on. That is what traps us, because then we cannot function correctly in the underlying truth of who we are. So we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. And then the next step is to actually see that we are not all. Yeah, we are not infinite. I've heard they say, you know, if you go into this spiritual thing and all of a sudden so many things are becoming clear to you, you know, and you know that you are infinite awareness. That is then thinking that all that knowledge was inside of you from the beginning. And, you know, you're just, and you are the bottomless pit. You just need to open it and everything is inside of you. And again, I said, and again, if you're being given that interpretation of the bottomless pit, if it's you, then you're working from that assumption. And from there you create how this reality might work. But if you say you are a spiritual being and the bottomless pit is the all, because that is the only thing that is truly bottomless, you know, omnipresent, omnipotent, eternal. All those things that you are not. And if you understand that, and if you understand that all is made up of its parts, again, all is not one big, giant, monolithic block, but it's made out of tons of working parts, yeah? Then you will understand what a spiritual being is. It's the souls that are connected to one another and that receive of the knowledge of one another. Whether that be connected to, if we're connected within humanity, that means that it's a knowledge that already is in humanity, whatever comes to you. It might be coming from somewhere else. You know, the web of life is bigger than that. And you may well connect to something that is actually not having experience in this world. But the point is, the whole of the knowledge was not from the beginning in you. But what you've done is you've stretched out your hand and you're eating of the tree of life. You are connecting to others that contain other knowledge, and everything is giving and receiving of one another. That's what's happening. Now, if you have that as your foundation, we're only creating foundations of how we think this might work. Whether my foundation is the correct interpretation of what's going on, I don't know. We really need to test drive this idea. We've been test driving everything and anything and everything that we've been told. And we've been creating outcomes through how we thought this thing works. Now, the problem with most also spiritual teachings is, you know, it's like me sitting in when I sit in church, which happens very, very seldom, you know, and the pastor's droning there, you know, you must be bathed in the blood of Jesus to wash you clean. And I'm sitting there and thinking, what the hell? What does that even mean? Or how can I, in my life, apply, you know, what you just said to me? Yeah, I'm in my kitchen up to my eyeballs, and yeah, all I have to do now is to bathe in the blood of Jesus, you know. That will help. If you don't have the meaning of what's being said, if you cannot apply it in your own life, then what good does it do you? You're forever reaching out to infinity and beyond, and nothing is happening in your own life. Oh, that is because you're just having this really small physical experience. That is actually doesn't matter. Yeah? You know, and the truth is out there. And it doesn't really serve you because you are nothing, but okay, let's find a way that it will actually serve us. And there's something I want to show you, and that is we're coming to our web of life, our tree of life, where we give and receive of one another. And, you know, the energy itself is just as important as the knowledge. Receiving the life-giving energy of one another is, you know, the knowledge will build the societies, and, well, if there is a big thing coming, if there is really some real change in what we will perceive as climate and stuff like that, or something else is coming, that will create a big upheaval, the knowledge of that would be good. But if we don't have the spiritual web where we can hold on to each other, that thing is going to blow us away. We will not, you know, they're trying to go the way of knowledge, but spiritual strength, spiritual connections to one another, to hold on to one another, is what will get humanity through this. Preferably it would be a combination of both, but it doesn't seem to be happening. So you can go through this the mechanical way, build yourself a bunker, or you can go through it the spiritual way, holding on to one another. Now we're trying to connect, and that again is spiritual beings trying to connect to one another on the level of spirit. And what's happening at the moment is we are uniting on a cause. Yeah? We're going up against something, and at the moment we have plenty of choice of what we can go up against, you know. Go up against what you see as the climate change wrong, as the medicine wrong, as the political wrong, as the financial wrong. I mean, heck, we're spoiled for choice. What we want to unite under. And then you go to these demonstrations, and you feel uplifted, and you think it was a great experience. And yes, again, because you had a spiritual experience, you were connected to all those people around you, and it creates great energy. That's our spiritual energy coming together, uplifting us up. That's what you're experiencing. But again, it's all just focused on one thing. And quite often in demonstration, or everything is focused on the speaker. Yeah? Although people might talk to each other, give of the knowledge, but again, it's all just focused on one thing. And that is actually the way of Elohim. Yeah, where they're all united under one intention. Their intention is to rule over this world, to have dominion over the flesh. But you're going up against something and you're united in that. Now when you leave the demonstration and you're back on the train on your way home, are you still connected then? Or has that energy gone? Might still be with you a bit, but in a day or two, is it gone then? And that is why revolutions fail. Because they're all connected, and they're being driven quite often to be connected in one thing and to go up against. And once that is achieved, we've toppled Caesar, then they look at each other and they say, what now? And quite often they find out then that they were actually not united at all, because everybody had a different idea of how to take this thing forward. And then the infighting starts, and then the whole thing falls apart. That is because you are in a pyramid thought that will lead to one outcome. And once that outcome is achieved, then what now? And we don't have the foundation. The foundation as spiritual beings is the connection to one another. And again, we should not connect on issues, but give to each other in compassion. That means caring about the other, about what his issues are. I've heard so many that said, I'm trying to open the eyes of the others, to these great issues that are going on around them. And I cannot get through because they're just, talking to each other, being concerned with their own little daily things. And they do not see the great picture. Well, folks, they have the foundation. They are connected to one another on the small things. And they have lots of connections with one another, not just one. We have lots of connections with our families, not just one. And that grows a far stronger web. And when the time comes, they will be able to hold on to each other. And those that have put themselves outside on the great issues, they will find themselves standing on their own. Because they are not part of the real web of life, of the real spiritual web, the connections of mother, father, child, friend. And really being concerned with the small things in life. Hundreds of small things that will build a strong web instead of one large thing under which to connect, and when it's done, it's falling apart. I mean, I'm in that situation in my own family. And just something happened the other day which was actually very poignant, because in a way, not knowing we're doing it, we seem to all operate on the same principle. Where I had a conversation with my son. We had a conversation about a few things that's happening in our lives. That was a connection, of shared joy and shared dismay about what happened. But then, we came to the big issues. We came to climate change, and my son said a couple of things, and I wasn't on board. We are actually on different sides of the divide. And then he dropped it. He dropped it. He did, rather than it coming between us, he dropped the issue. And that is where, again, we are being divided. It is coming between us. It will divide mother from daughter, son from father. And then in the end, sons will offer up their fathers for the cause. Because they're energetically tied into the cause. They will sacrifice their father or hand over their father to be afflicted. Because that connection is no longer, and that is the true. That is our own true underlying reality. That is the true web of connections. And if we build that, we will see heaven. See, again, heaven are the unseen connections, or the knowledge of the unseen connections, and heaven starts right in front of your nose. Not out there. It is out there, but the important bit is right in front of your nose. And here you can actually see where Jesus went wrong. Absolutely went wrong. Because there were two ways. First, they were giving to one another. They were healing one another. They were giving bread to one another. And that was the people of the way. They were given to one another. And churches were neighborhoods, were just people united in the thought of giving to one another, of sustaining one another, of edifying one another. And that web grows from one place to the next, and what is given and what is being said, what sustains actually changes the further the web spreads out, because the needs differ. But it is still that underlying intention of being connected to one another by accepting the other and accepting their needs and wanting to give. Again, try to think it's not only giving, sometimes you have to take away from somebody in order to save them, so keep that in mind. But then Jesus went the other way, and that is to serve the kingdom. Anybody who would follow me, to serve the kingdom. And here we're going back into the hive mind hierarchy. And the energy again flows to heaven, to the one point, the one that will receive all. That is those who follow me on that way. And I tell you something, those that went on the way, the saints, they're coming back in wrath, because something obviously went belly up. They weren't that happy in that kingdom. But there are the two ways. And the truth is the web that is made out of many connections and that spreads out. That is the underlying truth, and that is the underlying truth of us. And that is where we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. And that is what we must get back to. And see it, it's right in front of you. Get out of space and come back home. And see what all these things, we are trapped in a physical experience. Not because the spiritual is not here. It is. But we are not seeing it. We're not building those connections. We're not trying to understand those connections. And then all we have left is the physical. That's how we are trapped. Not because some alien built some matrix and it's all held up by machines or what. That's not the meaning. Anyway, I leave it at that for today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.